Arg, mateys. I be Mr. Terry, history teacher. Welcome back to another Pirate Teachers Reacts video. All right, enough of that. Today's video came recommended by multiple people. The channel's historically, we've covered them before. They make great stuff. It's called That Time Pirates Started a Country. Original video link's going to be linked down below. Make sure you're supporting historically. They're great. By the way, just as this video launched, a new video over on my originals channel just launched. I'm super proud of it. I think it's the best production value, especially visually, that we've done yet. And it's on the real reasons that aren't talked about a lot about why the Roman Empire fell. I'm going to link that down below. Make sure you're checking that out and subbing over there. A lot of fun historical content. If you like the historically stuff, I think you'll like what we're making over there. All right, let's get started. All right, so seeing the title about pirates starting a country, the immediate thought was Bahamas. I want to say the Bahamas was like that. Now, in the Caribbean, piracy was such a big deal. Incredible amount of silver mining coming out of the Americas, especially those loaded treasure ships, became just sitting ducks for pirates all across the world, from all across the world. Yeah, and some even, stayed put and formed their own little societies. And I think it was the Bahamas was one of those. I know some others in and around like Haiti. If you remember any others that aren't talked about in this video, let me know. Let's get some pirate history going. All right, historical, what y'all got?
Quick, leave your stupid farmer job and become a privateer, so it makes sure France doesn't become a global superpower.
Privateer is a pirate that's employed by the government. Yes, that was a thing.
All right, thanks guys. The War of the Spanish Succession is over. Well, I
steal from the enemies.
Suppose that I gotta thank
enemy
you
countries.
somehow. You're fired. Get out of my office. Well, that sucks. What are we supposed to do with all these warships, cannons, and not vitamin C's that we bought ourselves? We could start our own pirate republic on the strategically placed island of Nassau. Yes, let's do it. And
Nassau, Bahamas, yeah. So privateering, literally state-sponsored piracy, was a big deal. And it caused a lot of political problems between the heads of state of countries because they're like, dude, you're attacking us. You know, this should be seen like as an act of war because you're complicit in it. And over time, they started to try to they would mutually agree to stop doing that. But it didn't end piracy because it doesn't matter if it's state sponsored or not. Piracy was a pretty dangerous yet very lucrative profession. So what happened for a lot of them was like, well, the state's not going to sponsor piracy. We'll just do it on our own. And we don't have to give a cut back to the country. So it just kind of made sense.
So, over 1,500 battle-hardened Spanish and now British-hating lads sailed across the globe ready to claim their new hangout spot.
They have great animations.
They quite literally
art
just
channel.
claimed it, even though it's one of the most strategically important spots in the Atlantic. Let's talk about that for
It was not uninhabited.
And hi, my name is Pirate Oliver. I like pirates. Historically Facts, Part 12.
On the Bahamas, by the way, that was where Christopher Columbus had originally landed, among those islands. They were inhabited, but as you know, the people, they basically died out from disease almost completely.
All right, so how did this pirate country start?
Okay.
Well, the year is 1666.
Yeah, I don't remember the immediate context.
35 years before the War of the Spanish Succession.
Okay.
Or rather, the war about which powerful family gets to own Spain and its territories.
The big ugly chins, the inbreeding. The Bourbon, I don't know as much about as far as the physical deformities. Did the Bourbon family? I mean, there's going to be a lot of French royalty coming through that family line. And a lot of them were gross, actually. So I think I already proved my point. Every royal family was disgusting, physically and personally.
Which was a lot. It was a time of peace, international friendship, and harmony. No, who am I kidding? Every major power was 24/7 raiding each other's colonies and ships.
Everyone's developing.
One day,
trying to develop trade monopolies.
A young Brit almost banks his ship on the shallow shores of a very conveniently positioned island. He names it, very patriotically, Charlestown, named after the King of England.
Yeah.
Charles.
See, that is how, by the way, you ever notice how they name places after monarchs a lot? Even if you weren't forced to do that, it definitely gave you really good praise by those monarchs because they're like, oh, they're doing it on my behalf. You know what I mean? So you can get extra privileges, right? You look like you're doing it for the state when that's not why they're doing it. It's for themselves.
Odd name.
Second.
He starts gathering his friends, and slowly and surely, they build a fort, a small town to make it truly Charlestown and not Charles Rock, and start to trade with the nearby locals. It's a nice, cute little colonial community. Shame I'm going to burn it down, says the Spanish admiral in 1684, and he did. the whole town was turned to charcoal, and the colonists were bullied off the island.
Right.
But just like cockroaches, the British popped up again.
Yeah, you don't get to stay around long before the British knock on your door. What is it? Like, what percentage of countries have fought the British before? It's like most. It's crazy.
To throw the Spanish off, this time they named the island Nassau, named after the recently appointed Protestant King of England, William III. I don't get it. Willem was part of the Nassau family, that's why it's called Nassau.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That makes sense. The British rebuilt the whole island, slapped a fancy, stronger fort on top, and audibly laughed at the Spanish every time they tried to take the island. Fast forward to the 1700s, and we are now in the early stages of the War of the Spanish Succession.
But the British had a bunch of colonies and are going to have a lot in that, right very close to that region. Jamaica being one of their biggest ones, along with Barbados and Bermuda.
England is still laughing at Spain's attempt to reclaim the island, but then Big Bro jumps in to help Spain, and the island gets flattened a second time. This time, they made sure to spray French artifacts everywhere. You know, so those annoying Brits would return. With the whole island flattened again, it became abandoned. Technically, it was under British rule, but in practice, there was no government, no defense, and no law.
Lawless.
Just a beautiful port, empty buildings, and broken walls.
As we call it, at this kind of time, it's just might is right. Who's right? Who's in charge? The one that has the most might, who's willing to go the furthest, violently if necessary.
Just a beautiful port, empty buildings, and broken walls. Yep, don't mind me, I'm just selling rum. Oh no. Run!
Pirate!
Ever heard of Blackbeard? How
Mine.
about Jack Rackham?
Hey, that's me.
Maybe Charles Vane? All these pirate legends had their pirate careers from Nassau. Hell, even the most known pirate flag is from Nassau itself.
Oh, is that right?
Just like a crew needs a captain, Nassau needed a
I didn't know the origins of the skull and crossbones.
And I'm not making this name up, Benjamin Hornigold. You couldn't get a more piratey name even if you tried.
Have you ever felt like people that are just born with a certain name pretty much have their life like determined for them, and it would be wrong to be anything but a pirate when your name's Benjamin Hornigold?
As a privateer turned pirate, he looked at the chaos that was unfolding on the island.
I haven't heard of him.
All right, enough.
I know a few
is
pirates,
enough.
but not him.
If we want this all
Not
to
in real
work
life.
out, we need to put some rules on the ground. He gathers the captains, tells them to put the swords down and to stop headbutting over whose pirate is actually cooler, and finally start building what will become the world's first accidentally democratic pirate commune. And the pirates, they listened.
Usually accidental democracies are when there are too many people competing for power and have power, and the only way to actually get peace is just to agree to share power. You know, ancient democracy, which gets credited with Athens, that's basically what happened. It was wealthy, there was a lot of powerful aristocratic families, oligarchic families that ran trade companies, and eventually you just had to share power because when push comes to shove, there was just a lot of powerful people. A lot of democracies do evolve accidentally, I guess. Or maybe not accidentally, but naturally.
Hornigold forged himself into becoming the first president of the Pirate Republic. His first act as president.
Okay, sorry, I've paused a lot, but I had to say this. Okay, when William Hornigold becomes the leader, why didn't they name the colony or the new nation Hornigold? Can you imagine if that was the name of their state?
Himself into becoming the first president of the Pirate Republic. His first act as president was to enforce rules. For example, from now on, crews voted for their captains. No longer the loudest guy gets to automatically be the leader. Another big reform was that loot was now to be shared fairly. And most reforming of them all, if you lost, for example, a leg during battle, you got compensated for the work hazard. But Hornigold, for all his pirateness, had one very weird quirk. He refused to attack English ships. And like, he would heavily rob a Spanish galleon blind, torch a French sloop, and pants a Dutch merchant captain in broad daylight.
The French were making flutes too. So the flutes were originally a Dutch ship. Very cool. They're the cool, stylistic, pointy boys like you see up there. I guess, I mean, it makes sense that like one country isn't going to just have a monopoly on ship design. But I always just synonymously think of the flute ship with the Dutch.
blind, torch a French sloop, and pants a
Did he
Dutch
say
merchant captain in broad daylight.
But
if you were flying the Union
animated
Jack,
like it.
he would tip his hat and say, "Cheerio, mate," which was a little awkward, considering the entire point of Nassau was to sticking it to the British Empire. So, after ruling the pirate country for 3 years, the pirates voted for a different president.
Oh.
And he was succeeded by none other than his spooky bearded apprentice, Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Blackbeard wasn't
I forget his real name
building a
sometimes.
republic. He was building a brand. He lit fuses in his beard, strapped pistols across his chest, and draped himself in black like a pirate Batman.
Heck
Okay,
yeah, dude.
show off, you might think, but this
So much of the like fantasy version of pirates like literally did come from Blackbeard. It's pretty amazing. I'm still like more of a big fan of Sir Francis Drake just because of how successful he was. He's probably my favorite pirate. Privateer, I should say, because he literally was sponsored by the Queen of England.
This whole brand building was actually genius. The stories of him and his crew became known all across the Atlantic.
You gotta have
Everyone
that.
was afraid of the pirate maniac. Merchant ships surrendered the moment they saw his flag, practically donating the loot. Nassau flourished under Blackbeard's rule.
Genghis
The harbor
Khan
filled with
of
ships, markets popped up selling stolen
Caribbean.
cargo, bedroom, and maybe 1 or 2 cursed objects. Pirates of all flags poured into Nassau. British, Irish, American, Afro-Caribbean, even a few confused Scandinavians. Nassau had to become the Las Vegas of the Atlantic. No rules, no kings, and definitely no taxes. Cool, said Blackbeard.
It's like Bender from Futurama's ideal state. We're gonna have blackjack and hookers. Literally, they would have had that in Nassau.
During his 3rd year as a president. And definitely no taxes. Cool, said Blackbeard during his 3rd year as a president. Anyway, I'm bored. So
like
he sailed
libertarian
north, made
fantasy
deals,
here.
blockaded entire ports, and left the Republic in somewhat capable hands? Well, not more capable than the sponsor of this video, Quillbot. I like writing about pirates and,
Quillbot?
well, I guess about history too. But grammar is hard, man. Especially because I'm Dutch, so I'm basically handicapped. That's where Quillbot comes in.
You are not.
It's an AI writing
Doing a
tool
great
that helps
job,
you
Mr.
rewrite,
Historically.
rephrase, and polish your sentences. You just paste your text in, and Quillbot gives you smarter, cleaner
This is what
versions.
writing is
No
now.
more losing arguments because of typos.
Emails,
It also checks
scripts.
your grammar, spelling, and
Everything's
even
being
helps with
refined.
citations, which is great if you like writing essays or are forced to because of university. And the best part? It doesn't steal your gold. There's a free version you can start with right now. Just open your Chrome, install Quillbot as an extension with basically 1 click, and suddenly, life is good again. Seriously, it's free to try out. Just click the link in the description and give it a shot. If you don't like it, just get rid of it. Just like Blackbeard got rid of his presidency. Anyway, meet the 3rd and most radical president of the Pirate Republic, Charles Vane. Imagine if
These guys weren't around very long. How often did they do like voting? Was there specific terms, infinite terms? I mean, we're talking 2 years for these guys. Oh, they all have great names. Charles Vane. That's an
most
awesome
radical
one too.
president of the Pirate Republic, Charles Vane.
His vanity.
Imagine if anger had a body. Yeah, that was Charles Vane. While Hornigold was the rule maker and Blackbeard was the showman, Vane was the edgelord extremist. He believed the only good British ship was a burning one, and diplomacy was for cowards and poets. Cool. No, wait, not cool. In 1718, the year when Vane got president, there was a massive influx of pirate settlers due to the
Vane.
massive layoffs in the European countries. Everyone went to Nassau, which the King of England, Willem III, started to notice due to literally every ship sailing towards America.
What's he gonna do?
Salutations! Yar, ya scallywag. Where are ye sailing to? Cringe? How dare you address your king like, where are we sailing off to,
Undercover
matey?
boss.
Haven't you heard? Nassau has become the place for all the privateers who got laid off. We're going to start our own pirate country, with blackjack and cookers.
Yeah.
The king can stick it up his
He did
arse
the
for having
Bender.
us fight all this time for his country, just to fire us the day after. Oh, I see. Alright, thank you. Hey, how's that for up your arse, huh? Now that the teacher knows about their cool hideout.
All right, I know a lot of you have got to be into pirate history, and, you know, especially if you came to this video. I mean, there's a lot more from like the academic sense, specifically with privateering. Was the walk the plank thing ever real? You guys tell me that? Walking the plank? Was there an actual plank? You guys help me with that?
The Nassau boys were getting a bit anxious. Sure, they can plunder a merchant ship or two, but the royal army? That's not an easy fight. Worst yet, more and more warships started to appear on the horizon. And leading those ships was Woodes Rogers. But before we get to him, let's check in with our pirate president Charles Vane, who was, at this point, having a little moment. See, Charles wasn't much of a surrender guy, or a talking guy, or a not burning things guy. So when Woodes Rogers politely sailed into Nassau and asked, "Hey lads, maybe stop being criminals?" Vane responded by lighting his ship in the harbor on fire and sending it straight at him.
I'll send a message.
Is this our plan? It wasn't, but Charles thought it was. But Charles thinks a lot of things, to be honest. One guy especially not loving the flaming ship as diplomacy approach was Charles's quartermaster, a guy named Jack Rackham. You might know him better as Calico Jack, named after his favorite fabric and least favorite survival instinct.
Also, name of another good history channel, Jack Rackham, very good.
Jack had been Vane's right-hand man for months now. He'd seen the screaming, he'd seen the fire, he'd seen the moment Charles tried to headbutt a seagull for looking at him wrong, and Jack, credit where it's due, had his concerns. Sure, Charles started out as a fiery, brutal pirate, inspiring others, and probably got to be president because of that. But recently, he was off. For example, a couple months prior, they were on this massive warship of theirs and about to plunder a teeny-tiny French merchant ship, which they absolutely could have taken. Charles made the call to back off due to the risks of losing. That's not very captain-y-like. He also got his ass whooped by a lesser drunk, damaging his reputation yet again.
They're saying he's basically, he had been falling off. I thought he was going to go more extreme mode, and the vibes I was getting was like Stalin, Khrushchev vibes, where it's like, okay, Stalin had these certain successes, but dude went overboard in a lot of things of the certain types of repression and all that. And then you had the de-Stalinization process with Khrushchev, which was like, all right, we got to keep, I mean, a lot of the elements of what Stalin was doing for the USSR, but we got to get rid of a lot of these other behaviors. And this took a different turn though, and those vibes kind of got squashed.
And now finally, while a literal firing squad is on the horizon, ready to hang each and every pirate, instead of bargaining for the safety of the island's troublemakers, he basically declared war on them.
Okay.
New vote, new vote.
I mean...
And just like that, Charles Vane
they didn't think they'd win either.
And his extra flamboyant sidekick was in. Meet the fourth and final president of the Pirate Republic. And the pirates
didn't last very long.
A better...
Wait, Charles the Vane was only... not even a whole year? These guys don't last very long.
President of the Pirate Republic. And the pirates couldn't have chosen a better president. Jack was an insanely skilled war general. He was so good, in fact, that modern historians compare him to legends like Hannibal and Alexander the Great.
Oh, wow.
Jack called the pirates together, set up a combat plan, and absolutely crushed Woodes Rogers and his fleet.
Let's go.
There were only 1,500 pirates on the island, but they could shoot really well, I tell you. Then, feeling ambitious, the pirates sailed and laid siege to England. Even though they were outnumbered by 1 to 1,000, they destroyed the British defenses and captured England, effectively renaming it to the United Pirate Kingdom.
A little hyperbolic here, okay, but okay.
Then, after stumbling into Oppenheimer and Heisenberg at the same time, who just finished their nuclear bomb, they threw it on Spain and France.
All right, we've gotten some alternate history here.
The end. No, wait, this isn't an alternative history video.
I was like, all right.
Let's rewind a bit.
I got that vibe.
And he liked tomboys, which isn't just a throwaway joke. It's historically accurate. See, Jack Rackham fell in love with Anne Bonny, who was a female pirate who, due to sexism on the work floor, disguised herself as a man. And later Jack also fell in love with Anne's bestie, Mary Red, who also disguised herself as a man. Both of them carried swords, both of them could absolutely destroy you in a bar fight, and both of them, for some unfathomable reason, liked Jack back.
Okay.
It was an unfathomable reason because Jack...
There's something for everyone. All right, there's someone for everyone out there, okay? You want a tomboy pirate girlfriend? Go be a pirate.
Reason liked Jack back. It was an unfathomable reason because Jack was probably the worst pirate that ever existed.
Oh, really?
He put all his skill points in charisma and 0 in leadership.
That's all you need, though.
He couldn't fight on equal grounds.
Hey,
and
isn't that just like politics in general? Your charisma can outweigh your actual skill, at least initially. Just the perfect politician. This is what you need. Look at it.
And 0 in leadership and war tactics. He couldn't fight on equal grounds.
Won't keep you in
only
power,
trade
but
on
it'll get you
smaller
there.
merchant ships. And you best bet your ass that he could in no way, shape or form beat Woods Rogers and his royal backing. If Rogers wanted to, he could have at any time signaled his fleet to attack. And without a shiver of doubt, killed each pirate on the island. But Rogers was
better funded, man.
He was a privateer himself during the Spanish Succession War. And he himself was a victim of corporate downsizing.
So what he means, okay, so you talk about that too. When the privateering ended, so many of these privateers turned into just independent piracy. But those privateers were so well funded. I mean, they're going to get the best ships. They're going to get these skilled crews, great weapons, you know, and permission to basically just wreak havoc. So we're someone like Drake and these guys were so successful at that time. A little bit harder to be independent, but you have to share power.
During the Spanish Succession War, and he himself was a victim of corporate downsizing. During the war, he led one of the most successful privateering expeditions in British history. He circumnavigated the globe, captured Spanish treasure ships, and came home to parades and praise.
Drake was the first Englishman.
Naturally, the government thanked him by the only way it knew how. By, instead of firing him, they forgot about him and let him go bankrupt. He sank all his money into the war effort, didn't get reimbursed properly, and ended up in debtor's prison for a bit. But then,
that's gonna piss him off, huh?
Empire logic, the British were like, "Hey Woods, remember that pirate problem we ignored for a decade? Wanna go fix it?" And Roger said, "Sure, can I have my money back?" The British said no, but if you can get rid of them, you can be the governor. May you drown in your teacup. Alright, fine, I'll do it. Long story short, Rogers knew how it feels to be betrayed by the same country you fought 12 years for, and understood why his war comrades turned to piracy in the times of need. So, he sent them an ultimatum. If you surrender, we will pardon you of any crime you've committed, basically allowing you to start with a clean slate. However, if you don't, you'll know what happened.
Well, it's not much of a choice you're giving them. It's an ultimatum. Is it really free will? Probably not.
And our fourth president, Jack Rackham, he felt like he just hit the net 20 roll on that charisma check. What a lucky escape. And so, Calico Jack, pirate president and certified tomboy enthusiast, stood before Woods Rogers and said, "Absolutely, sir. Thank you, sir. Piracy? Never heard of it, sir." He took the pardon, signed his name, posed dramatically, probably blew a kiss, and promised to never touch another ship again. 2 months later, he stole a sloop from Nassau's own harbor and went straight back to pirating, like the wool pardon thing had just been a dream.
It's too lucrative, man.
Bless Rogers' heart, but we're talking about pirates here.
You don't gotta be
once
funded.
Esteemed privateers, but after more than 10 years on a pirate island, you will slowly develop a "frick you, I do what I want" mentality. Anyway, after Jack and many others in July of 1718 accepted the pardon, the Pirate Republic of Nassau was officially dead. Playtime's over, lads. Go home to your wife and kids. We left for bloody 12 years. But now comes the fun part. What happened to our main characters? Did they all take the deal? Or did some, Charles Vane, flip them off and continue pirating? Well, let's go down the list, shall we?
Yeah, what happened?
Charles Vane did not take the deal at all. In fact, when offered the...
He would be the one that would be most likely to do that, because he already wanted to go to war, basically, with the British. It's what got him out of power.
Charles Vane did not take the deal at all. In fact, when offered the king's pardon, he reportedly said, "I would rather die a pirate than live like a servant." Bold words for a man who would, shortly after, be abandoned by his own crew.
There's the plan. Yeah, I mean, because he was going to get him into trouble, right? It's like, at some point, it's like, all right, we got to cut you loose, man. You're going a little too far. Reminds me of like a Maximilian Robespierre. It's like, all right, thanks for everything you've done for us this far, but you're kind of gone off the deep end, so we're going to send you on the plank, and you can jump into said deep end.
Yep, after a series of bad calls and even worse luck, Vane lost his ship, lost his men, and got captured. He was shipped back to Jamaica, where the government gave him exactly what he asked for.
British colony as well.
Death. They hanged him in 1721. He died as he lived, angrily. Blackbeard also did not take the pardon.
What did happen to him?
He played the game longer.
I don't know what happened to him in his life.
Ships of the Carolinas, made shady deals with corrupt governors, and even threw a retirement party for himself at one point. It didn't help. The British Navy eventually caught up with him. In 1718, he was ambushed and killed in a brutal battle. It reportedly took 5 bullets and over 20 sword wounds to bring him down.
Whoa, he's like the Rasputin of pirates. I love it. Eventually, everyone gets England.
Battle. It reportedly took 5 bullets and over 20 sword wounds to bring him down. And then they chopped off his head and hung it from the bow of their ship. You know, for vibes. Hornigold? Plot twist, he did take the pardon.
Yeah, what happened
Not only
to Mr.
that,
Hornigold?
but he switched sides. Hornigold went from pirate president to pirate hunter. He spent the last years of his life capturing his former friends and delivering them to the British.
He got no loyalty, man. He's got no loyalty. You can't trust these criminals, man. There's no honor amongst thieves and stuff like that. Doesn't exist, man.
I guess karma took that somewhat
Cautionary
personal,
tale.
because not much later, he died in a shipwreck in 1719.
By the way, also what Robespierre was doing, going after a lot of his fellow revolutionaries. Not as much for the economic benefit, maybe for political hubris, but this guy's just doing it for money, I bet.
Took that somewhat personal, because not much later, he died in a shipwreck in 1719. Yikes. Jack Rackham, we already know how that went. He got pardoned, then pirated again, and surprise, surprise, then got captured. His execution wasn't exactly
Captured by
cinematic.
who?
He was caught
Oh,
drunk,
'cause he went back.
tried by court, and hanged like an amateur.
We're back to
But let's
pirating.
talk about the real stars. And Bonnie and Mary Red. They fought like hell.
Yeah,
in
the
British
tomboy
game.
pirates.
Legend says they were the only 2 crew members still on their feet when the ship was boarded. Jack
They
was
wouldn't execute
passed
the
out
women.
drunk. They were furious. The girls were both captured and sentenced to hang, but both pleaded the belly, claimed to be pregnant. It worked for Anne, and she got out scot-free, but
Yes.
not for Mary, who died in prison. Anne
Brilliant.
disappeared from the records. Some say she died shortly after.
If you can do it,
some
why
say
not?
she lived a quiet life. Some say she disguised herself again and became a tree this time. Nassau was
Became
cleaned up,
what?
fortified, and turned into a proper colony under Woodes Rogers.
Right.
The fort was rebuilt, the pirates were gone, and over time, the Republic faded into legend. I like pirates.
All right, very funny video from Historically. My question to you in the end here is, would you have wanted to be a citizen of Pirate Island there in the Bahamas? You got a beautiful Caribbean island home, no taxes, do whatever you want. But it did look like you're going to have to be able to fight all the time. All right, guys, that was fun hearing some more about some of the stories about some of the most famous pirates in history. Hopefully I was able to kind of bridge the gap between the privateering and the piracy, maybe make any other historical connections, the ones that came to my mind. But that was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Now that you're finishing this up, go check out my new Fall of Rome video. You're really, really going to like it. It's a lot of fun. Again, link that down below. All right, have a good one.